For Global Business Update, Michael Wilson joins us now from London. Good morning, Michael.
Good morning. As far as Asia Pacific's concerned, China and Japan closed for holidays. That leaves people, basically investors, looking forward to the Fed's decision, really. Hong Kong's down a bit. They're worried about what's going to happen. I think it's pretty well nailed on that there will be a 25 basis point, i.e. 0.25% interest rate in the United States. But again, we'll know that later today. China is distinguishing itself. Yesterday on Wall Street, Starbucks results came out. And one of the standout things from those results was the increase in people actually visiting Starbucks shops in China. It's the second largest market that Starbucks actually has. And what's actually happened as far as their results are concerned is a clear indication that the COVID lockdown is getting over. People in China are going out shopping. One of the places they're stopping at is Starbucks. That's why I bring that to your attention. Bank of Korea, one of the first South Korean the Central Bank of South Korea was one of the first really to halt interest rate rises. Will there be an interest rate cut? Their finance minister is saying not right now. Any talk of that would be relatively premature. But an interesting thing that they are actually thinking about this, and it could be part of a lack of interest rate rise cycle, if I can put it like that. I know it sounds like a lot of negatives, but I think that's the way we're going right now. The IMF, I'm going to repeat this from yesterday, has increased its forecast for 2023 for Asia. It sees the leading economies of China and India as helping that, and they will contribute to half of global growth this year. The IMF figure is now 4.6% for the particular Asia Pacific region, up 0.3% on their forecasts in October. Let us turn to the United States, and really all eyes on the Fed to work out what's going to happen and to react to what's going to happen later in the day. But it's pretty obvious there is going to be an interest rate rise in the United States. Ahead of the Fed, too, that there's also a problem about the debt ceiling as well, which has certainly not been resolved. We heard about Janet Yellen concerned about that. There will be a meeting with Joe Biden on May the 9th about that, which is next week. But still, that sort of worry really about which way the United States is going to go. I think that basically a 0.25% interest rate is very much on the cards. I'm going to bring Ford's results to you, one of the many yesterday. But Ford's actually interesting in as much as it beat its Q1 expectations through traditional, not EV vehicles. It's still expecting a big loss. It's got a $2.6 billion loss as far as its development of electric vehicles is concerned. But basically, its legacy models, and i.e. what you and I would buy, and also the truckers version of those is actually like that, for example, did very well for Ford. The fleet expectation, the fleet actually spending up $1.4 billion. Wall Street now, let's look at this generally speaking. I did bring to your attention that it was felt that the balance of IPAs is definitely going towards China. 5% of the workforce on Wall Street is being threatened right now, the likes of Morgan Stanley laying off 3,000 staff and so on. And it's all about that. Bank of America, Citi will all join in. It's all to do with the slowdown in IPOs, people actually not wanting that for all the reasons that you know very well indeed, including interest rates quite high. EU car makers, they're trying to, I'm going to refer back to China again. These are like the likes of VW and BMW and so on. What they're doing is they're trying to invest in China. They're trying to steal some of the electric vehicle market away from it. It's proving very, very stubborn indeed. But that's the way the investment is actually going right now. They're trying to get market share in China because they recognize it as being an enormous market. Here's a spy story for you. Russia, apparently, this is materials from microchips to ammunition, certainly machine tools from Germany, and despite US sanctions, there's something called the Sanaya network, which is apparently getting a lot of technical secrets from EU. That's alleged in a Financial Times investigation. We'll see how that goes. As far as the UK is concerned, the regulator is very much aware of the fact that a lot of businesses moving away from the City of London, and the regulator is bringing it forward very, very quickly some kind of reform about the way things are actually, the way that companies can actually list in the City of London. If you look at the way, there's only been 6 IPOs since the beginning of the year, compared with 56 in New York, and other European capitals attracting 34. The UK NHS pay deal is more or less, the government is thinking that it's going to be accepted by the majority of staff. The Royal College of Nurses is not accepting it at the moment, but still they're pushing ahead with that. Basically what we're talking about is a 5% pay deal. What the government's very much hoping is that this will form a framework for other striking public service unions to agree to their various increases. And local elections tomorrow. I don't normally get involved in politics, but I should point out that this is something which is very concerning to the UK. Local elections are always seen as a sort of proxy of which way the general election is going to go. The Conservatives are extremely worried and expect a sound thrashing tomorrow as we all go to the polls. Oil is being hit by lack of growth in the United States and various indications of a global slowdown. By contrast, gold is getting its gleam a little bit back again as people turn to it, as they often do, as a safe haven when there's a lot of risk around, as there is right now. That is the global view.
All right. Yes, there's a lot of risk around the world. I want your take on how Joe Biden is doing with the debt ceiling in America and trying to get his bipartisan hang on that matter, so at least the debt ceiling can be increased, because Janet Yellen is already complaining that if we don't get this done, this might do us over.
Yeah, I mean, it's my take on it is it's going to be extremely difficult. My take on it is that it will actually resolve itself as all these things do. Biden is clearly, whatever you think about him, he is actually taking it on board. It's going to be very, very difficult to push this through, but I suspect the debt ceiling will probably happen. But there's going to be a lot of debate because the House, the whole administrative process in the United States is now so finely balanced, as you well know. So if you want my take on it, that's what I think. And it's going to be extremely difficult, but I think that probably it will be decided, but it's going to take a while. Janet Yellen was talking about June. I would say at least that.
All right, Michael, I'd like to talk about AI. And I talk about this because it's something I've brought up a number of times with you. But this time there's quite a significant figure who has raised the red flag around this development and push for artificial intelligence. This happened yesterday, but I thought there would be, more development in terms of the story emerging. Now, Geoffrey Hinton, who is regarded as the godfather of AI, has said that perhaps there should be a moratorium on the development of artificial intelligence, as it seems that it could very well become more intelligent than humans. We've had this debate a number of times on this show where we've talked about, okay, no matter how intelligent AI would be, it would never have human emotions. But he's talking about the fact that it could very well be beyond the loss of jobs, just the chaos and the dangers of this happening. And, some big tech bosses, Apple boss, have also talked about the dangers in AI, and perhaps there should be some sort of pause on its development. What's your stance? What's your take on this?
There will be no pause, is my take on it. It's impossible to pause because how do you pause it? I mean, people, of course it will. It's almost got a life of its own. I think it's very, very dangerous indeed. Jobs is one thing, certainly. I think that it'll mean fewer jobs for people. But what worries me most of all is because of the kind of business that we're all in, which is the news business. And I don't want to see fake intelligence making people, affecting people's decisions about which way they're actually going. That, I think, is the real problem. I think that artificial intelligence as applied to the news business, we all do our best with this. We all try to sift through a very, very shifting and confusing world, and we hope that people trust in our work that helps us, decide which is the chaff and which is the wheat, if you like. That is my big worry about artificial intelligence. It depends who can control it. It is completely out of control at the moment. Yes, I think so.
Well, Michael, I mean, we've been on this subject of artificial intelligence for a while. In Kuwait now, they have even artificial intelligence-inspired anchors, television presenters, appearing before the screen. Yes, Geoffrey Hinton is not even alone. Hollywood producers are also complaining about plagiarism through artificial intelligence. Companies like Chegg, Pearson, and others that are involved in the education sector are protesting that they are recording a drop in their stock shares. Chegg, particularly in the last 48 hours, lost about 48% of its shares because of artificial intelligence. And Geoffrey Hinton, who is regarded as the father of artificial intelligence, says, look, this thing that I created with my students is beginning to pose a threat. At the last meeting of the G7 ministers of digital technology, they said they are going to follow the path of the European Union to impose regulations. So that's where we are with artificial intelligence. And I'm glad that you now say, truly, it poses danger to humanity. But what is the option in terms of the way forward, even beyond regulation? Now, second thing, about the Feds meeting today. They are already meeting. Now, you said it's pretty much known what they are going to do. Yeah, 25% basis points increase. But would that increase if all the economists are right in terms of the prediction? Will it be the last hike coming from the Federal Reserve?
As far as the Fed's concerned, I would certainly hope so. I don't. I mean, again, all these targets, the 2% inflation target and so on, are all made up things that happened many, many years ago, and it seems like a decent kind of target. I think 5% is probably about what an economy like the United States can stand at the moment. It's certainly they're looking at wage growth, and they're certainly finding that slowing. They're looking at jobs, and they're finding that slowing as well. I would have thought, and I don't know, and I don't mind saying this to you, Doctor, at all, because I don't think anybody does. But I'm assuming that 5% is about the level. I know it's been higher in the past, but the past is a different beast. Nowadays, I feel as though it's about where it ought. It's about as high as it can possibly be before the economies start to really slow down. Hence, that's why I was quoting to you the South Korean central bank, which paused, one of the first to actually pause in raising interest rates. But what they're not doing, they're not saying they're going to reduce them right now. Look, here's what I think about AI, right? Are you old enough to remember bands like The Temptations and all that Motown stuff that I loved that as a kid. But what I didn't like was they had a hit with one record, and then they got another record out which sounded a bit similar. It was a bit in reverse. If you remember, that there's a famous In the Midnight Hour and Knock on Wood, the one being a reversal of the other in musical terms. Now, that's fine. That sort of works. But I can see what Hollywood is worried about at the moment, AI. In my book, what I want from Hollywood, what I want from journalists, I want original thinking. Does AI provide that? Not sure it does at the moment. Will it in the future? May well do. But generally speaking, it's too late to think about it. The best thing you can possibly do, and you've talked about it before on this program, is education. That is the thing which will push people beyond what they're getting from AI. Simple as that.
Thank you very much, Michael. Thank you very much indeed.